All right, y'all, we're back on this thing. So, update. Since I broke the air intake temp sensor against the firewall back there, I ended up welding a quarter MPT bung. Now, probably would have been easier just to flip the base, but hindsight 2020, right? So I tapped in, I drilled and tapped this for 1/8 for the blow-off valve, and then I welded in a quarter-inch bung for the air intake temp sensor. Now the back still has the map sensor, and it's still, I added this piece for the brake booster. I was using a big like 1/2 inch hose, but it's still too tight in here. So I ended up going to this and it clears perfectly fine. I just flared the end a little bit on this stainless so I could put the clamp on there and it'll be tight. Also, I wasn't gonna run a heat exchanger, but this is the auxiliary, I guess, radiator that GM had originally added to the Stingray and the Grand Sport. And I pulled this off when I put the blower on it because the hoses were in the way and all that, and I bypassed all that. And I still had this laying around, and I was thinking, well, you know, I could take the fittings out of here and weld in a 10AN bung. Lo and behold, the fitting that screws in these blocks right here, it's the same thread size and pitch as a 10AN O-ring boss. So, me and all my wisdom, I threw in a 10AN O-ring boss in here on both of them. And I had this one, it's a swivel fitting, see, fancy, that I was using on my RX-7, or I had planned to use on my RX-7 for the fuel pump because I had a big 5 gallon per minute air motor pump on that. And this is a spare fitting that just popped in there and it works perfect. So I don't have to use a big 90 or anything, and I can just run it straight back. So, yeah. I'm gonna throw the base back on, get that bolted down since everything with the manifold is pretty much done. I'm still waiting on the sensor, so we'll button up the top of this and then start working from there. Also, I'll show you guys what I ended up doing with the intercooler piping. So basically all I did was bypass the air-to-air intercooler that went down here. And you can kind of see it. I'll get the car up in a bit so y'all can see it. But I bypassed it with a piece of exhaust tubing because the way the compressor cover is clocked, you can't get it to, you know, pretty much come out in the middle where the intake is going to be at. Now, I reused the silicone couplers. The only thing that might be kind of a pain right here is going to be the blow-off valve because the water tank, I'm planning to make fit as big of a water tank as I can and still use my catch can in this area over here. So it might be in the way with the blow-off valve here, but we'll figure that out. I'll modify the water tank that I'm going to make to kind of help clear that a little bit. But essentially I'm using the stock or the A&A silicone hoses that came with it, bypassing the intercooler that goes under the bumper and then go back to the silicone, and then I just fabbed up this piece real quick. It's kind of hard to get it at the perfect angle, and I cut down this silicone coupler because it used to be like all the way up here, but I cut it down and then it'll basically be about right there. And then I'll still have my MAF, and yeah, I'm just waiting on a silicone coupler to go from here to the throttle body because it's like at a 45-degree angle to go in there. But you'll see it once I get that bolted up, and then I'll show you guys the bottom of this once I get the car up in the air, because I got to make a mount that will fit my ghetto heat exchanger for the intercooler. But yeah, let's get the base on, and then we'll put the intercooler on top and keep going from there. All right, here we go. So, had a bit of an issue with the fittings on the back of the fuel rails. They were too tight to the firewall, so they weren't letting me put them all the way in, but I got some shorter fittings, made the passenger side fit. This is all hooked up. Hooked up the crossover. Oh, what else? Same issue on this side, but this side has the flex fuel sensor, so I had to get a shorter elbow on the back side and then fab up a little piece of 6-iron line and then hook it up to the flex fuel sensor. So this is done. I don't really like the bend right here, but I don't know, maybe we can. There you go, that's better. Anyway, that's done. I had forgotten to plug in the map sensor. Don't forget to do that. It was a pain to get back there, but I was able to get it in there. I heard it click. I was able to engage a little lock on the connector. That's Gucci. Got the crossover line here. Now, this is what I was talking about with the intake piping. It's gonna be about right there. Put a 45 going here. Done. And then I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna make this water tank and keep my Motion catch can. Well, it came out really good in cardboard and tape, but I'm not that good of a fabricator. I got all the panels cut. However, I don't have the right material. This material is super thin, but man, it just, I might as well use a plastic bag and put some barbs in it. Would have been cool, but unfortunately, this material is not what I need for this. We ended up ordering a tank. I got the Cordis Performance one. Gotta pay the tax. I could have ordered some thicker material and try to make it again, but I don't want to do all that. I don't have the patience to be an intricate fabricator. Well, I mean, I do, but I don't have the time and I don't want to on this thing. So I ended up ordering the tank. Should be here, hopefully, the end of this week. I got everything else plumbed up, radiators in. I hooked up the intercooler piping. What I ended up doing was reusing the silicone tubing that came with the air-to-air and bypassed it using exhaust pipe. Now, this is all 3-inch. As luck would have it, my old X-pipe, or some of the pieces that I cut off the old X-pipe from the exhaust, had the perfect bend to go from there to here. Also, I mounted the, I'm gonna call this my heat exchanger. Mounted it up here. I already ran the hose for the intercooler up to this side. So my plan is just gonna go from the tank to the pump, which I mounted right here. I'm gonna end up using this one. Eventually, I'm gonna have to upgrade to the big trunk tank with the bigger pump. For now, we're gonna run this little baby pump. I think it moves like 11 or 12 gallons a minute or something. We'll run that from the tank to there, and then from there, it's gonna go to the heat exchanger. From the heat exchanger, it's gonna go up to the intercooler and make the big loop that way. But yeah, it's coming together slowly. Hoping to have it done by the end of the week. Today is Tuesday. hoping by Friday or Saturday everything gets here. I know the intake sensor gets here Thursday. I got tracking for the tank today, which is, I don't know where it's coming from, but hopefully it doesn't take too long and we could get that bolted up. It's pretty much all I'm waiting for. I need to go buy some hoses. The hose I had for the blow-off valve to my old intake, it actually had a nick in it, and that might have been why I had kind of a vacuum leak. I never thought of looking at that. But yeah, we'll plug all that up, check everything, check all the fittings, leak test everything, run the water pump, make sure everything's good for the water, and then fire it up. I'm gonna need a retune from GPI. Hit up Ryan, and I'm probably gonna have to pay for the retune since I made upgrades, but it is what it is. You pay to play, right? But man, this thing looks sick. And then I still gotta cut the hood. That'll be fun too. But I wanna make sure everything's running, nothing's leaking, and everything's good, and then we can start playing with the hood. I have to take the bumper off so I could get in here. And this actually had a little stud right here, and I just popped the pump in there, put a nut in it, and sent it home. Anyway, that's all we got. The whole tank thing didn't work out, but you know what? You live and you learn. Pay the money if you can. Unless you can build it, you're a good fabricator, you got material, do it. It's gonna save you a ton of money. I don't have the money and I bought it anyway, but yeah. Thanks for hanging out. Jesus loves you. Peace.